What's going on, YouTube? Thank you so much for clicking on my channel and for joining me for this conversation regarding the case of Phylicia Moore. Now, I personally had never heard of her case until one of my viewers by the name of KR5690 left a link in the comment section of my Shanquella Robinson case and wanted me to check out the video. So I went ahead and I checked out the video, and which led me to do a little bit more reading on the case. And it's just a fascinating case. Now, what I find most fascinating about the Phylicia Moore case is that it's extremely similar to the Shanquella Robinson case. In the terms of, we have two young African American women who travel outside of the United States who end up dead within 24 hours of arriving in this foreign country. And there's this mystery around their death. They both traveled with a group of people that they trusted, that they felt comfortable with, but yet no one is giving any answers, any explanation, or any information as far as what happened to cause these young women's demise. So Phylicia Moore was a young high school student from Teaneck, New Jersey, who attended Teaneck High School. In 2007, she was 18 years old and she was a senior at Teaneck, New Jersey. Now, her school had organized a trip to the country of Ghana in West Africa, and it was going to be a group of students traveling to Ghana to deliver donations to orphanages and school children who were afflicted with the acquired immune deficiency syndrome, otherwise known as AIDS. So it was basically like a mission trip. It was for an extremely good cause. And this just shows you the kind of person that Phylicia Moore is. Now, when I was doing my research on this case, first of all, it was very limited. There was a lot of articles, but all of these articles were written around 2007. I didn't see a lot of information written about this case after 2007. So current information for me was impossible to find. So she traveled with a group of her classmates, her fellow students, to the country of Ghana, and they landed in the capital of Ghana, which is Accra, on April the 15th, 2007. Around 10:30 that night, she was sitting by the pool, and the last time that she was physically seen, she was seen leaving the area that she was sitting at. She was leaving that area to go back to her hotel room and to supposedly change out of her bathing suit. Now, at the time that she was seen, she was wearing a pair of shorts, she was wearing a tank top, and she was also wearing her bathing suit underneath. And so allegedly, she was getting up from the swimming pool area to go back into her room and to change out of her bathing suit. And that was the last time that she was seen. Her roommate claimed that Phylicia never came back to the room that night. The next morning at breakfast, when the students, it was 23 students and 9 chaperones on this trip. So the next morning when everybody was gathered for breakfast, I guess they realized that Phylicia was missing, and therefore her body was discovered later on floating in the pool in the deep end. Now, her father had said that even though Phylicia could tread water, she was not a swimmer, and her body was found at the deep end of the pool, and she was still wearing the clothes that she was seen wearing the night before, which was the pair of shorts, the tank top, and her bathing suit underneath. So when the Ghanaian law enforcement or the Ghanaian government did their investigation, they concluded that she had drowned, and it was basically case closed. She drowned. That's it. So her family felt like there was a lot of information missing. They felt as if there could have been foul play, and they definitely wanted more done to try to figure out, how did she end up drowning in a pool when she knew what her swimming limitations were? Like, how did this happen? So her family hired an attorney. They had their own autopsy conducted. And in essence, were trying to figure out on their own what could have happened to their daughter. Now, the Ghanaian government, I guess when her family began putting the pressure. I guess they tried to do a little bit more investigation. They also requested the assistance of the FBI as well, but there were no concrete answers or explanations given as to what exactly happened. Even if her death was from a drowning, how did she end up in the water, knowing that, number one, she wasn't the strongest swimmer? I don't know, when they say the deep end of the pool, I don't know exactly how deep it was. I read an article that she was a basketball player, that she was around 6 feet tall or close to 6 feet tall. So how deep was the deep end of the pool? Now, I feel like, as of recently, and this is probably not really relevant, but I feel like within the past few years or so, when you go to a public pool, the deep end is no longer that deep. Like the hotels that I've been to and the public swimming pools that I've been to, the deep end is no longer like 9 feet, 10 feet, or anything like that. Or there is no deep end at all. You'll have a shallow end and then you'll have a slightly less shallow end. So in 2007, and especially in a whole nother country, I don't know what their rules and regulations are for their swimming pools, but it seemed like, from what I had gathered, she knew what her limitations were in swimming, and it looked as if she was done with the pool that night because she wanted to change out of her bathing suit. So how did she end up back in the pool dead? So the next day, when they realized that she was missing, and I guess, people were looking for her, they ended up finding her body floating in the deep end of the pool. An autopsy was done in Ghana, and the conclusion was, that she drowned, and that was like, that's it. An autopsy was also done in the United States, but I don't exactly know what the conclusion was. I'm assuming it was also the conclusion of that she had drowned. Her family believes that there was foul play involved, and they believe that whoever was responsible for her death was trying to make it look like a drowning. Now, I don't know if her family thought that there was foul play involved because of no explanation given as to why she ended up in the pool or how she ended up in the pool. So they automatically assumed that there was foul play, or if they believe there was foul play involved because they received some type of information from someone, either someone in law enforcement or someone who was privy to the situation. I don't know why they felt like there was foul play involved. But like I said, even if it was a drowning, an accidental drowning, can anybody explain how she ended up in the pool? So I couldn't find any information as far as was anybody else around her at the time, because they said that the article said that she was last seen at 10:30 p.m. leaving the pool area, not coming out of the pool, but just leaving the pool area. She was sitting in a chair around the pool, and then at 10:30 p.m. she decides to get up from the chair to go back to her room to change clothes. And who saw her? Who gave this account? There's no information given as to that. Also, when her family hired their own private attorney, the attorney had concluded that her body had not been in the water for too long. So I guess by the time that she was found, it was near the time that she was placed in the pool. She wasn't found until 11 hours later, but the family attorney, believes that she was not in the pool for, 11, 12 hours, that she was in the pool for, much shorter time than that. Her family's attorney also stated that, I guess after the autopsy or when her body was pulled out of the water, at some point her clothes were completely discarded. The clothes that she was found in, which were the same clothes that she was wearing the night before, those items of clothing were discarded. They were not preserved or saved for evidence in any way. So that's also kind of shocking. Toxicology tests were ran from both the Ghanaian government and also from the United States autopsy, and those results came out negative. There was no any alcohol, drugs, whether legal or illegal, or any kind of foreign substance or anything that would raise any type of concern found in her system. Now, what frustrates her parents the most, and what would frustrate anybody that reads about this case, is there were 9 chaperones on this trip. 22 or 23 other students on this trip, and no one can give any information on how she ended up in the water. How does that happen? This is very similar to the Shanquella case, but I feel like with Shanquella Robinson, we have a whole lot more information because there was a recording back in 2007. People were not taking out their cell phones to record everything, so it's sort of like it's just blank. I mean, you have at least if there were like 22 students, her being the 23rd, so you would have 22 students, 31 people, and no one can give any account on how she ended up in the water when it was said that she was leaving the pool area. So that's just amazing to me. So here we are, how many years later? This happened in 2007. It is now 2022. So we are 15 years later and still no answers as far as what happened. Now, when I saw the interview on YouTube of her parents, it was sad. It was absolutely devastating. She was a senior in high school. So later on that year, her class graduated. Her father accepted her diploma for her. And that was absolutely heartbreaking to read that part. I can just imagine her father walking across the stage to accept his dead daughter's diploma. Also, I think before they left for the trip, the kids were recording themselves, and someone had recorded Phylicia, and the person recording her had asked her, so how do you feel about the trip? And she said that she felt really fine about it, but she felt like she had forgotten something. And I mean, it's just adorable. This beautiful, sweet child, by all accounts, I mean, she would have been any parent's dream of a child. She was an honor roll student. She was an athlete. She was hardworking. She was intelligent. She was sweet. She got along with everybody. Everybody loved her. And it's just, I'm so sick and tired of hearing stories about beautiful souls who meet their demise and either nobody cares or not enough can be done to figure out what happened. Now, also, I would like to know, why wasn't there more attention placed on this case? You have a United States citizen going to a foreign country, dies mysteriously, never comes back, and it was like, we never heard of this case. I never heard of this case. There's very limited information online about this case. And this was, I think shortly around the time of the Natalee Holloway case. Now, Natalee Holloway, I do believe that her death, I don't think they ever found her body. Now, Natalee Holloway was I think she was a high school student who went on a class vacation to Aruba, and she never came back. Something happened to her in Aruba. I think they were able to conclude, I don't know if they ever found her body, but she's still gone. I don't think she's ever been found. I don't quite remember the details of the case, but my point is this: the Natalee Holloway case got national, daily attention. You could not escape the Natalee Holloway case, and that's how it should be. I'm not criticizing the fact that her case got a lot of attention. I'm just saying that why couldn't that same energy be given to other cases? Here you have a high school student, 18 years old, beautiful child, loved by all, who goes away to Ghana and never comes back on a group trip, on a class trip, and there's absolutely no answers given other than she drowned. How? Why? What happened? Were there witnesses? Can anybody explain how she ended up back in the water when she was clearly leaving the pool area? Also, cameras. Were there any cameras around? Her family had said that the Ghanaian government or the Ghanaian law enforcement, they only interviewed a handful of people. They did not interview every single person that was on the trip with her, the other students or all the chaperones. They also stated that they did not interview hotel guests, hotel visitors, or even hotel employees. Very shoddy work. Now, I don't want to put too much blame on the Ghanaian government because maybe they have very, very limited resources. And this case was a little bit out of their league, but couldn't the United States have provided more, or Interpol or any other more efficient, better equipped agency, done a little bit more digging, a little bit more investigation? Like I said, I don't know. The parents feel like it is definitely foul play. They believe that there was foul play involved. I'm not so convinced for sure 100% that it was foul play. I just want answers that could lead us to that conclusion that she had accidentally drowned. Did she fall? Did someone push her? Did she bump her head? What happened? Why did she come back to the pool when she was trying to go back to her room? Her roommate said that she never came back. The next morning, her bed was still made. What happened to her? So many questions and very little answers. And so it was just amazing how you have these two cases of Shanquella and Phylicia. Two, like I said, I don't know if I said this in the beginning of my video because I have stopped and recorded this video so many times. So I don't know if I've already mentioned this, but you have two African American women, young, in their prime, leave with a group of people that they trust, that they knew, go to a foreign country, and they're dead within 24 hours of arriving. No answers, no information. The law enforcement of that agency is either not willing or unable to really do a thorough investigation, to really give any clear answers. It's just amazing, just boggles my mind. So her parents, they didn't want her death to be in vain. So they wanted to create a law where when you have school trips, that the chaperones of the trips keep a vigilant count of all the students, to do constant checks, to do constant head checks, bed checks, when everyone is supposed to be in the room by a certain time. Go to every single room, open up those doors, and make sure that everybody is where they are supposed to be. In this situation, that was not done. The chaperones were not doing constant checks to make sure that, everybody was accounted for. They didn't know that she was missing until hours later, when they discovered the next morning that she was nowhere to be found. So if they were doing constant checks of all the students, like every hour, on the hour, make sure that you call roll, call attendance, call every name, and make sure that everyone answers, make sure that everyone has IDs on them, etc., in case they get lost somewhere. At least they'll have identification, whatever. So the parents were really frustrated that this was not done for their daughter's trip. It seemed as if the chaperones just kind of let the kids do whatever they wanted to do. Nobody was really keeping check, because if everyone was supposed to be in their room by a certain time, nobody checked to confirm that Phylicia was not in her room at the time that she was supposed to be in her room, 10:30 at night, which I felt like was a bit late, but I understand these are teenagers, they want to have fun. I get it. They want to be up all night, socializing, etc. But I think there should be a curfew, because these kids are so far away from their family that their lives are in these chaperones' hands, and you don't want to have to make that call to say, we can't find your child, or your child was found dead in a swimming pool and we don't know what happened. From what I could gather, the school officials, I don't know if they were not, I don't think it was an issue of them not willing to cooperate. I think the school officials were probably trying to be extremely careful with liability. And so they were not, they weren't like 100% forthcoming with as much information as possible, because, everyone is looking at the school and these chaperones and trying to figure out like what the hell happened. How could this, but if my child was, I don't think I would ever allow my child to leave the country without me. But if that was the case, I would be like, you know what? Anytime that I call the chaperone and I want to confirm that my child is where they're supposed to be, that chaperone should be able to tell me, show me something to reassure me that, yes, your child is here. This is the time that we saw them. They responded to the check-in, etc., etc., etc. If for whatever reason I'm not able to call my child. So it's just extremely sad that this is still a mystery. 15 years later, she lost her life. Not much information was given during the investigation. Not much information is even available online. Even when I was looking for photos of phyliciamoore, that also was extremely limiting. I don't know exactly what happened with her parents. I'm assuming that they're still living and that they're still searching for answers. But I don't know. There was like very little information on this case. Something else that I wanted to add, I don't know if I talked about this as well earlier in the video, that I guess she had to come up with money on her own. I don't know if the school had covered a portion of the cost or if her parents had covered a portion of the cost, but she also was working and saving money to pay herself nearly $3,000 to be able to go on this trip, to go on a trip to help others, to help children in need in another country. Shows, how giving she was, how sweet she was. And it's just sad and frustrating that this is how her story ended. That she drowns in a pool Okay, fine. Maybe it was an accident. Maybe it was an accidental drowning. But can anyone just tell us how it happened? Were there any witnesses? Can anybody say whoever had said, yeah, she was seen leaving the pool area at 10:30, there could have been a lot of commotion. So a whole bunch of children, they're excited about this trip. It could have been a whole lot of commotion. Somebody probably just kind of glanced up, they saw her, and then went back to whatever the hell they were doing, and didn't look up again. So there probably just legitimately are no answers. But how is it that she was leaving the pool and then she ended up back in the pool? Like, how did that happen? If anything bad did happen to her, if there was foul play involved, whoever was responsible, if there was foul play involved, allegedly, if there was foul play involved, whoever was responsible, please know and understand that justice will be served either here or in the afterlife. Justice will be served. And it's just so sad that up until now there are just no answers. But one day, anything that you ever want to know, you will eventually find out. And I know that one day, somewhere, somehow, her parents and her family will definitely get the answers that they've been seeking. Thank you so much for joining me in this video. I really do appreciate it. On your way out, please do not forget to rate the video. If you like this content, go ahead and subscribe. And once again, thank you so much, KR5690, for bringing attention to this case. That's it. And I will definitely talk to you later. Bye.